Well, joining us now to give us a more detailed analysis on this survey is Antonio Fatas. He's professor of economics at INSEAD. Antonio, thank you so much for joining us. Now, this survey, I have to say, it was completed on the 15th of September, which was only 5 days ago, but certainly we have seen quite a lot happen in just the past 5 days, certainly a dialing up of rhetoric. We had U.S. President Donald Trump just saying yesterday, threatening to totally destroy North Korea. Are you expecting confidence perhaps to continue on this downward trend?
I think what this survey shows is that on one hand, I think there's good news. The survey is above 50. If you look at the last 2 years, it has been trending upwards. But what has been happening over the last quarters is that there's a lot of uncertainty. There's a series of events that are very much around political issues, political uncertainty about statements by the U.S. administration that are causing a lot of uncertainty and moving the index up and down over the last quarters. So if you look at the index, it has been very much flat over the last year. And I think what happens over the last quarter is going to depend, as you suggest, in the statements that might come from the U.S. or North Korea or China or some of the other big players in the political arena.
I mean, when you speak to most economists and analysts, they mostly tell you that there could be this rhetoric, but the chances of anything really happening, any sort of big escalation, is not likely going to happen. So is there really a concern for these businesses?
I think what is happening, if you look at the data, both the economic data and also this index, I think you see a lot of optimism, but it's very cautious optimism because there is a possibility that something big happens. I think if you ask businesses, you're right, most people will say it's very unlikely that we'll have a major political event. At the same time, the type of event that we're discussing, the type of event that those statements by Donald Trump yesterday suggest is obviously a very big event that will cause major disruption to the global economy.
It's Fed decision day. We're going to be hearing from them overnight. Nothing expected this time around, but certainly a lot of people expecting that in the next 6 months we're going to see another rate rise and some sort of path towards unwinding the balance sheet. So I was actually quite surprised when I saw that only 7 responses said that a change in interest rate is worrisome, given that we could see the U.S. dollar strengthen, we could make debt more expensive and perhaps lead to more capital outflows. Do you think that this is an overlooked worry?
No, I think what is happening, this is a very odd cycle. In a typical cycle, that's what we see. We see interest rates coming up as the economy sort of like gathers strength. But this is a very different cycle. Now people understand interest rates are not going to go up that dramatically over the next months. The Federal Reserve has sent signals that they might reconsider increasing interest rates over the next 2 meetings. So I think any possibility of interest rates remains unlikely. And even if they go up, they're going to go up by a small amount. And that's why people don't see it as a big risk today.
Indonesia jumping to 100, although it has to be said that there was only, I think, 3 respondents from Indonesia, so maybe not to the best gauge or the best sample pool. What can we extrapolate from that, though? What makes them so positive?
I mean, a lot of these numbers depend on the strength of the economy. Obviously, that's what business see. I think the Indonesian economy has been very stable relative to some of the other economies in Asia, has been less subject to some of these risks. So you see the numbers, as you said, these are a small number of responses, staying stable or going up relative to the most extreme case, which is South Korea, where that obviously has been affected in a much bigger way by the political news coming from that region.
And I want to ask you just a quick question about Singapore, very much a trade-dependent economy. We've seen a pickup in global trade. Is that the reason why businesses here are feeling more confident, or is there something more to it?
No, I think the Singapore economy has been doing better over the last year. So you've seen the numbers significantly increase for Singapore if you take a year ago versus today. And I think it's coming from the global economy being stronger. And obviously Singapore is very depending on trade. And trade is going to be very much a function of where the global economy is.
All right, thank you so much for your insights, Antonio Fatas, there, professor of economics at INSEAD.